Below the radar, this opinion discusses social media's impact on students and generational change. This past Monday morning proved a difficult class to teach, and it was not just because it was hot on the heels of the mess. That was the India-Pakistan cricket match. Difficult class to teach means the lesson was hard to manage. Hot on the heels means immediately after. This sentence states that the morning class was challenging, partly due to recent cricket match chaos. I didn't take into consideration just how difficult the class on obituary writing would prove to be. Didn't take into consideration means failed to plan for. This sentence admits the teacher underestimated the challenge of teaching obituary writing. Let me explain. As part of that lecture, I asked students to write their own obituary so they can understand that this genre of writing is about life. In this case, theirs, their accomplishments, how they want to be remembered, and for what. Ask students to write their own obituary means they must reflect on their lives. This sentence explains that the assignment helps students consider their life, achievements, and legacy. It also allows them to reflect and reconnect with what really matters. Reflect and reconnect means think deeply and rediscover importance. This sentence states that the task helps students focus on essential life values. However, this past Monday, there was a heaviness in the room, which I soon learned was because several of my students knew Mustafa Amir, the 23-year-old man kidnapped and brutally murdered last month. Heaviness in the room means a somber mood. This sentence explains that the class felt gloomy because many students knew Mustafa Amir, a young murder victim. His case is ongoing, so I do not want to weigh in on the investigation, other than lament how the media is treating it as a soap opera. Weigh in means comment on. Soap opera implies overly dramatic coverage. This sentence states that while the case is still under investigation, the teacher criticizes the media's sensationalism. Oh, of course, I couldn't have known their connection to Amir or the young men and women allegedly involved in his murder, but I should have known this story would be all over the social media platforms they consume. Couldn't have known means was unaware. All over the social media platforms means widely spread online. This sentence admits the teacher was surprised by how deeply the incident affected students via social media. In this case, it includes Instagram and TikTok and is a major point of discussion on WhatsApp groups they're a part of. Includes Instagram and TikTok means these apps were used. Major point of discussion means frequently talked about. This sentence notes that the story dominated conversations on popular social media platforms. They told me things that aren't reported or reflected in the mainstream media, which causes a real disconnect between not just the mediums, but between generations. A real disconnect means a significant gap. This sentence states that unofficial online information creates differences in views between social media and mainstream media, and between generations. How can you create something if you can't sit still long enough to think? Rhetorical question. It asks how creativity can occur without quiet time to reflect. A generational divide is not new, but it may be widening as demographics shift, especially with technological innovations. Generational divide means differences between age groups. Widening means increasing. This sentence asserts that technology may be deepening differences between generations. For example, my childhood was spent outside and screen time was limited. There were few English TV shows in the countries I lived in, and while we watched Bollywood movies on VHS, we weren't allowed to just plonk ourselves in front of a TV forever. Spent outside means played outdoors. Screen time was limited means less time on devices. This sentence contrasts the teacher's childhood with today's screen-heavy lifestyle. We read, had hobbies, played, and spent time with friends and extended expat families. Had hobbies means engaged in activities. This sentence lists traditional activities that fostered real-life interactions. Things are different now and how. Different now means the situation has changed dramatically. This sentence emphasizes the vast contrast between past and present lifestyles. Each generation witnesses a wave of new inventions that widen the gap between the young and old. But innovation has come at a dizzying speed in the last few years and brought with it a host of anxiety-related issues. Widen the gap means increased differences. Dizzying speed means very fast. This sentence states that rapid technological advances are causing more anxiety and generational differences. Social media has especially killed imagination by offering audiences a highly curated perspective. Killed imagination means stifled creativity. Highly curated perspective means filtered, selective view. This sentence argues that social media limits creative thinking by presenting only controlled content. In the last 7 years of teaching, the number of students discussing their anxiety openly has grown. Discussing their anxiety openly means talking about their stress. This sentence states that more students are now vocal about their anxiety. I'm glad the cloak of shame around this has been lifted, but I worry they don't have the tools needed to deal with anxiety. Cloak of shame means the stigma. This sentence expresses relief over reduced stigma, but concern about lack of coping skills. They aren't used to being alone with their thoughts. There is so much distraction in the form of apps, etc., that they do not know how to deal with problems on their own. Aren't used to being alone means rarely experience quiet time. So much distraction means overwhelming interruptions. This sentence states that constant digital distractions prevent self-reflection and problem-solving. Smartphones have transformed childhood, let alone adolescence, and caused the great rewiring of an entire generation's social and intellectual development, writes Jonathan Haidt in his book, The Anxious Generation. Transformed childhood means change the way kids grow up. Great rewiring means major alteration in brain development. This sentence claims smartphones have deeply affected how a generation develops, as noted by Jonathan Haidt. I've read a lot of studies about the connect between social media and depression in teens, but Haidt's book gave me a new perspective on digital underparenting and real-world overparenting. Digital underparenting means insufficient guidance in digital use. Real-world overparenting means excessive protection in daily life. This sentence says that while many studies exist, Haidt's ideas opened up new insights on parenting in the digital age. Children have unsupervised access to digital devices, while also being protected from harm in the real world. Unsupervised access means free use without adult monitoring. This sentence points out the paradox of high digital freedom paired with overprotection in real life. It is a strange mix which has resulted in a generation with addiction-like behavior and who are unable to handle challenges which are a part of everyday life. Strange mix means unusual combination. Addiction-like behavior means compulsive device use. This sentence states that this parenting style leads to dependency on screens and poor problem-solving skills. I understand the world is very different to when I was growing up, and I can sympathize with parents needing to protect their children, but at what cost? At what cost means questioning the consequences. This sentence shows empathy for parents, but doubts the price paid for overprotection. You and I have likely faced similar experiences of being lost and surviving because of essential life skills that come with, well, life. Being lost and surviving means facing challenges and learning from them. This sentence reminds us that hardship teaches important life skills. My fear for each cohort grows every year. Fear for each cohort means worry for every generation. This sentence expresses increasing concern about the future of young people. They are spending more time, Haidt writes, on screen-based leisure activities compared to my generation where we were outdoors, getting hurt or lost, etc. Screen-based leisure activities means digital entertainment. This sentence contrasts today's excessive screen time with the teacher's more active, outdoor childhood. This generation has access to on-screen attention 24/7, but the cost is feelings of isolation, a rise in eating disorders and self-harm, as well as depression and anxiety higher in girls. Access to attention 24/7 means constant digital engagement. Feelings of isolation means loneliness. This sentence states that endless screen time is linked to mental health issues and harmful behaviors, especially among girls. It has ruined their ability to concentrate and pay attention. Ruin their ability means severely damaged. This sentence asserts that excessive screen time harms focus and concentration. We will feel the consequences of this when there will be a slowing down of innovations. Slowing down of innovations means reduced progress. This sentence predicts that the negative effects on young minds may eventually stunt future creativity and progress. How can you create something if you can't sit still long enough to think? Rhetorical question. It asks how creativity is possible without quiet reflection. We are paying too high a price for children who go through puberty with a portal in their pocket, as Haidt writes. Puberty with a portal in their pocket means growing up with constant smartphone access. This sentence argues that modern technology comes with steep personal costs for young people. He has answers which are possible to enact, maybe enforce, like making it harder for children to get social media accounts. Possible to enact means can be put into practice. This sentence suggests that solutions exist, such as restricting social media access for children, or not giving children smartphones until they are 16, disallowing phone use at schools, and most importantly, returning to a childhood that involves more personal interactions, less device use. Not giving children smartphones until they are 16 inches means delaying access. Disallowing phone use at schools means banning devices in school. This sentence offers concrete measures to reduce digital dependency. This isn't just a parent's responsibility. It requires input from schools, big tech, and governments. Not just a parent's responsibility means a shared duty. This sentence stresses that solving this problem needs cooperation from multiple sectors. The writer is a journalism instructor, X at Leading Lady, published in Dawn, March 2nd,